our man, Zach Berman, is here at the link. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Great to see you guys. Good to see Vinny again.
Whoa, Zach, how you doing? You have more energy than
well.
that.
I'm doing well. I'm excited to share.
Yeah, you seem down, man.
No, I'm excited to share what's going on in the locker room. Excited to break down everything that I heard. The lights are going off here, but I'll light up the show for you guys.
All right. Well, let's tell us what the reaction was in the locker room, Zach. I would say, arguably, given the events of the week, arguably their most impressive performance of the season, because they won in a way that we did not know that they could win.
Yeah, there's a lot of "I told you so." Jalen Hurts sits down and says, "So that's what you all wanted to see, huh?"
Yeah, but he looked so good, Zach. He could say whatever he wants.
You like the Kangol hat?
Yeah, I thought it looked awesome. I mean, the size of that chain.
You see, I'm not a big Kangol hat guy, but
Zach will never.
Hey, to each their own.
Zach would never praise the way another man looks, I feel like.
No, Fran, I think you look great tonight, man. I like the jacket.
You should know, Zach, that in the chat, as Jalen Hurts is talking about Russell Wilson, cousin Grace immediately on it, that Jalen Hurts is talking about how much he loves another man. Why can't Zach do it?
I can share people I respect just the way he shared the respect he has for Russell Wilson. But that's besides the point. Let me tell you what's going on in the locker room. Because AJ Brown, similar to the I told you so theme, AJ Brown said that the touchdown celebration was like a payback to all the people who've been talking about them all week, right? Like that was that was like a slap in the face to all the people who've been talking about them all week long. So this was that type of week here. Certainly, a lot of conversation among the wide receivers about a lot of conversation that they had, and what I mean by that is AJ said they spent a lot of time together, like beyond normal, really working to get on the same page. There was extended meetings, extended conversations. Devontae Smith said the same thing, that there was a lot that they did, the receivers, the quarterbacks, trying to figure this all out. This was a big, as much as like the drama took place, and Lane Johnson, as an aside here, Lane Johnson, who missed some time this week because he had a funeral that he had to attend, but he said like he doesn't pay attention to the Housewives of Philadelphia. He says he's been here long enough that he kind of just like flips through that. He lets everyone else deal with that. But everyone's aware of everything that went on this week. And the drama aside, there were real like football things that took place this week, extended conversations, a lot behind the scenes work to get to what you saw tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the "I told you so" and like nothing to see here from Sirianni, it sort of falls flat because AJ Brown himself is the one who said they needed to get better, and they spent a lot of time this week changing things so that they could get better as a passing offense. And so that doesn't really pass muster to me, but it's from we think we can flip the switch when we need to, and they showed that they could in this game. So it was a very impressive performance.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I got the Nick late, so I didn't ask any of the receiver stuff because I figured that had already been asked. I was talking to Lane, and I got the Nick midway through. But I was interested in this concept of a measuring stick game, because it's something that Lane Johnson very much believes in, right? That beating the Steelers, beating the Ravens, like that says something about your team. And Nick didn't really bite on that. Nick said every game's the same. You can't win 11 without winning 10. And I get that. But when you do what they did to the Steelers, when you do what they did to the Ravens, like that to me, and that to Lane Johnson, and that to other guys I spoke to in the locker room, that says quite a bit about what you are.
Zach, I feel like when you asked that question, he named the whole defense. So obviously in his mind, I think you were spot on, bro.
I appreciate that coming from you, Vinny. Yeah, because like that question came from the locker room. I talked to Nick after I talked to the locker room, and that seed of the question came from talking to Lane Johnson, who's been doing this for 12 years, who's like, when you play like that against the Steelers, when you play like that against the Ravens, like he very much believes in measuring stick games. And so I think, and to Bo's point, they flipped a switch, and they didn't just, they won going away, right? They won by 2 scores. They turned the ball. They didn't win the turnover battle. They won by 2 scores. They held the ball for the last 10 minutes of the game. Mike Tomlin punts it and doesn't get the ball back. Like this,
75% of the chat thought it was the right decision
to punt it. Yeah, I said at the time, is he punting it here? Like, does he really think he's going to get 2 more cracks at this? I was surprised by that. And then they on the field, they announced the Jalen Carter penalty as if like Pittsburgh was getting the ball back. So I was like, oh goodness, this is backbreaking. And then when obviously it was assessed after the punt, that changed things. But yeah, that drive shows you passes to AJ, passes to Devontae, Saquon runs it, and Jalen said, and I take it you guys heard Jalen, but that they were a run the ball play action team. That was the formula they were going with, and they had to shift that tonight. And this was the first time AJ Brown and Devontae Smith both had double-digit targets since week 13 last year against Dallas. It's the first time they have double-digit targets in a winning game, in a winning effort, since week 1 last year against New England. That says something. Like that, you don't usually see both these guys rolling at the same time. And the fact that they're able to do it speaks volumes about what this team can do.
Now, did you hear anything in the locker room about that Jalen Carter penalty and the ensuing dust-up?
No, and from my understanding, Jalen Carter was not available to reporters. He got out of there before we could get in there. So no, I wanted to speak to Jalen. I had my eyes on the D-line corner, the back corner. Vinny knows what I'm talking about, where all the D linemen are. But no, he was not there. I was congregating around the wide receivers. I caught up with a few defensive guys, Reed Blankenship, Zach Bond. By
the way, we haven't talked about a terrible call on Reed Blankenship on that the roughness penalty.
Oh, yeah, that was a rough
Justin Fields slides right into him. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I asked him about that, by the way, and he expects to be fined, but he's going to try to push back on the fine, because he says like he didn't think he did anything wrong on that play. He never has an intention to like hurt someone or play dirty. He thought he went in before the slide. He said Fields slid late on that play. So I hear you there. I spoke to the officials, but about something else, not about that. But I thought overall the defense was huge in the first half of the game, in particular, for the Eagles to turn the ball over twice and have a short punt too, like a 38-yard punt, and only three points to show for it. I'm going to go back to our old friend Chip Kelly. And I remember asking Chip one time, what's your favorite? Vinny's best year came under Chip Kelly.
Most productive. We don't need to say best.
Most productive. Most productive. Vinny's first big contract came after a Chip Kelly year. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Passing
begrudgingly, he says.
begrudgingly. Yeah, all right, I got you. I won't.
The man won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, true. I once asked Chip what his most important stat was, and his answer was response off turnovers. Right? He says everyone makes a big deal about turnovers, but if you force a turnover and you don't score off it, or if you turn the ball over,
no
and
wonder he's out of the league.
All I'm doing is being a reporter here. I'm conveying something that, like, God forbid someone has an original thought. Okay, it's an original thought.
It's not an original thought. It's Chip Kelly's thought.
Yeah, no, I'm saying Chip was original. It's a thoughtful response to a question. Okay. Like it's his perspective. Okay, but you saw that tonight in that there was the Eagles turned the ball over twice in their own territory. Pittsburgh gets 3 points off it. That's huge. the games. I believe in game flow. I believe in game script. Like it changes quite a bit. If you're down 2 scores, Pittsburgh plays you differently. Pittsburgh plays offense differently. So the fact that the defense was able to hold is critical. I understand the wide receivers are this. Look, when I write my story, I'm going to write 2 stories off the team. The first one's going to be on the wide receivers. Obviously, that's the big topic here, the passing game. But we can't take for granted the fact that this defense every week seems to hold opponents in the teens. It is crazy to think about. Like if you're holding teams to 13 points, you're going to win games. It's that simple.
You spoke to the refs, you said, Zach. What about it? What'd you hear?
Yeah, I spoke to the officials about the fight, the scuffle between the Steelers and the Eagles. Some of the Pittsburgh reporters wanted clarification on that. The officials said they did not see a punch from the Eagles. They said New York reviewed it, and New York did not see a punch from the Eagles. So I know, and I asked why the Steelers were charged with unsportsmanlike penalties there, and they said because they had unsportsmanlike or unnecessary roughness, or they said because they had unsportsmanlike behavior there. Okay. So it was pretty cut and dry. And then the Pittsburgh media also wanted me to ask why Montrevious Adams was flagged on the field goal attempt. And it's because
he ran over the center. The long snapper. What the heck?
This is one of those don't kill the messenger situations, right? I was just doing comes with the gig, right? Comes with the gig. I was just doing that. Yeah.
Zach,
but that's what they said.
Any word from the locker room or just any inkling in terms of AJ Brown?
Injury-wise?
Yeah, injury-wise.
Seemed okay.
Okay, good.
It sounded like he thought it was a hit drop tackle, but I spoke to him after the game. He sounded fine by that. Lane Johnson thought like the really cool part about that final drive was the fact that you had like Jack Driscoll in there and you had Steen, that they had to go really deep on their bench there. They were missing guys. He said that drive took a lot out of them. So I'm curious to see what the injuries look like after this game. I saw Sidney Brown walking out of the locker room. I know he was diagnosed with a concussion. I'm not a doctor, but he wasn't like he didn't seem impaired as he was walking away. So I don't know.
Did he have dark shades on?
To wall. Like,
what's that?
Did he have shades on?
No, he didn't. No, and he was walking with like he was walking fast too. Like he wasn't. I mean. He was accelerating.
Zach Berman.
He was accelerating. Mekhi Becton. I didn't get a chance to talk to Mekhi. I was running the Nick, but he was walking gingerly to his locker. So
nasty. On like the fall, that looked crazy on TV.
Yeah. So my guess is Nick has them holds them to a walkthrough on Wednesday is my guess, because this team was really beat up, and you heard Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts wasn't shy about the fact that it was broken. He confirmed that. He used the term shattered. He said he said shattered, and that it is affecting his play. I mean, candidly, this was probably the best he's played this season, this or Jacksonville. So I'm not saying that it helped him, but if it affected him out there, then figure out, channel that going forward, right?
Even sprung that nice run up the middle and against the Pittsburgh defense that has been very good against running quarterbacks this season. Michael Wirtz in the chat, Zach, you'll be happy to know, says that he made homemade chicken vodka wraps for this Kenny Pickett revenge game.
He could just come to Gianni's up in Ocean Township, New Jersey, and had a delicious one. Yeah, that's up by you, Vinny, right?
Yeah.
When I saw when I was.
That's right.
Yeah. I bet there's some good chicken vodka wraps in Neptune, New Jersey as well.
Absolutely.
So what did you talk to AJ Brown? What was AJ Brown's just sort of demeanor about like the passing performance from this game that he called for?
Yeah, he was like, you got to have uncomfortable conversations. And he was, he does this thing where he's like, I'm not playing the victim. He's like, but everyone was saying this, not just me. Right? Yeah, he was like, everyone was saying it. I don't know why everyone was focusing on me, but he said there was a lot of like uncomfortable conversations behind the scenes, which he thought was important. He says it says a lot that him and Devontae both did this in the same game, that they were able to get, him and Devontae both used the term on the same page, which wasn't an accident because last week they said they weren't on the same page. So I asked both of them what goes into being on the same page, and they said and that's when they kept talking about those long conversations that they had this week. And AJ's like, I'm not complaining, but like we had long meetings this week, right? So the urgency was certainly heightened in that regard. And then he talked about yards after the catch too, the importance of because they really didn't go downfield that often, but all their chunk plays really seemed to come with yards after the catch.
Any other big takeaways from the locker room, Zach?
Yeah. Well, Lane, by the way, like the respect that Lane has for TJ Watt. And I know you can say this about anyone, but he was asked at one point, like, how important it was that the passing game got going. And he's like, I'm just going to be honest with you. All I was thinking about was stopping F and TJ Watt, because he's like, that guy's incredible. He's one of the best players I've ever played against. So yeah, really hearing the respect that Lane has for him. Lane kind of summed up this past week with brothers fight. He's like, brothers fight, that he said, these are the brothers that he's never had. But he said, there's always, fights in families, but he said they addressed it in Wednesday. He wasn't there. But he said BG spoke. He said he understands that, like, the three of them all got together and hugged. Now, AJ denied a report that him and Jalen had addressed the team. I think Jay Glazer said that, but it certainly sounds like this meeting on Wednesday, this closed door meeting, was particularly productive.
Well, if it's going to give Jalen 290 yards passing and they got them, playing football like this, they need to have a meeting every Wednesday.
I think that's right.
Well said.
A great point from Frank Elmwood, who says, we won this one for Vinny. Glad we picked him and not that weirdo Russell Wilson. Of course.
There you go.
The sliding doors. That's the draft. That's the draft class.
Hey, listen, he got a Super Bowl, I got a Super Bowl, it pans out.
It all works out.
Everybody got one. That's right. All right, Zach, I feel like we've sort of emptied the notebook. Anything else?
Well, I imagine you'll get into it, but just, the implications now with Detroit losing and the Eagles rolling here. Like, I thought going into this stretch after the Rams game, I thought the Eagles were going to split Baltimore-Pittsburgh. All right. I was wrong. I know Washington's a tough game next week. You turn around after a physical game, you go down there, but I think the Eagles are better than Washington. The Eagles can run the table here. Like, the Eagles can finish 15-2, which is staggering to think about if every game's competitive. But the fact that Detroit is a tough schedule, right? So the ones, Buffalo really helped the Eagles out tonight. And I know that's not something Nick Sirianni's thinking about, but I've been saying for the past month that I'm skeptical that the one seed matters more in the NFC this year than in most years that I've covered this, because I think Detroit is built to play in their dome or in a dome. I think that they would have a much harder time on the road. I think that's a real tough place to go into in January. You saw that Rams-Lions game last year. Like that place was nuts from all indications. But if you could somehow get the one seed and you get the Lions here, it changes things considerably. So I know that there's a few things that have to happen here, right? The Lions have to lose a game, but the fact that that's on the table really makes things interesting.
And I don't know about you, but this Eagles performance changes the way I feel about them going into the playoffs as well. I think I now believe that they have a higher playoff ceiling than I might have thought.
a good point. And, you know, some years break your way. You know, San Francisco's having a down year. By the way, I was thinking about this on Thursday night when I was watching the game, like not to absolve the Eagles from what happened last year. It was a pathetic collapse, but the Eagles post Super Bowl year was 11 wins and making the playoffs, right? Whereas, like, you know, there a lot of the teams that have lost in the Super Bowl, like San Francisco this year, you know, they really go into the dumps the following year, right? But yeah, the fact that San Francisco's having this down year, really Detroit. Now Minnesota's legit. And I think Green Bay's tough. But there's no one in the South who really scares you. The Cowboys are having this down year. So the NFC is there's less like formidable opponents than ever before. And look, I know Buffalo looks awesome, but I saw, you know, Patrick Mahomes go down today. Kansas City, that they might look a little different. So this is going to be an interesting next month and a half. And you're absolutely right. When you play like this against Pittsburgh, when you play like they did against Baltimore, when you play like they did against the Rams, man, that is like this team is so impressive that, you know, it's I don't want to say it's like snuck up on us because they were expected to be good, but I don't know if they were expected to be this good. And it's really because the defense is just so like meat and potatoes solid.
Zach, if the Eagles go to the Super Bowl, I think one of the days that we are there during Super Bowl week in New Orleans, you should commit to wearing a backwards Kangol hat.
Why?
The chat is asking for it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'd be Michael Scott, like
pizza,
when he was.
Someone left an Apple Podcast review.
They like with me in a Kangol. I can't wear a Kangol hat. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's like, what's that song? I saw this on you know, there was the ESPN commercial with the couples who were like college rivals. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that, right? I would do anything for the show, but
meatloaf.
The Kangol hat is where you draw the line.
That's it.
Actually, no, it's not. I don't know how to draw the line at the Kangol hat.
You know, you won't do the Cooper DeJean. You won't wear a Kangol hat. You won't get naked.
I just don't know. Bo, it's ridiculous. Yeah, no, it's not that I won't. It's just I don't know what it like. I don't know why it's necessary. Just because you ask me to do something doesn't mean I have to go ahead and do it. You know. So yeah, I'm up for charity. I would do most things for charity. I mean, I'm always thinking about others.
You're always thinking about others.
Never quit.
I'm always thinking about others. All right.
Okay, shout out. I saw at halftime today. I saw Alejandro. He goes by Alex. Big fan of the show. Lives in Germany from Mexico. Loves all the just it was nice catching up with him. I said I would give him a shout out on the show. I've met a lot of people over the past 2 days at a book signing and whatnot who have great things about the show to say about the show. I appreciate it significantly. Shout out to Samaj. He was my waiter last night.
Big flex.
He's the man. Yeah. He was. Yeah. We were talking about the show. He had some of the things he appreciates, some of the feedback he had. So, I love hearing from PHLY Eagles fans.
Well, wait a minute. So, Samaj, did you ask him for a recommendation on what to order?
Of course he did.
Of course.
Okay, I was going to say, because if you didn't, then he would know that that's your normal thing. And if you didn't ask him, I feel like he would be offended.
Oh, of course he did.
Of course I did. Yeah, and Samaj was money in his recommendations.
Zach, if it's last thing, holiday season, people looking for last chance books or gifts, rather. Do you have any recommendations for them?
A diehard subscription to PHLY would be awesome. Okay. So you can start there. We also have a lot of great merch on PHLY. But if you're looking for a book, the franchise Philadelphia Eagles, a curated history of the Birds, and I'm sending about 30-something books out tomorrow at the post office. But I have until Wednesday to get it to you by Christmas. So if you want a copy, you can message me, either Zach at allphly.com, on Twitter, DM me on Instagram, wherever, however you want to do it. And I'll send you a form and we'll work it out.
Reports circulating of some very handsome paperbacks making the rounds in circulation.
Yeah. It's a good sign for sales, but yeah, these books are they're getting hard to come by, which is good.
Not a baby. All right. Zach, we look forward to reading what you write on allphly.com for the diehards. Thank you very much for putting in the work, and we will talk to you on the show tomorrow at 2:00.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
All right, Zach. Have a good night.
We all silly like the mayor.